So off the back of the other M246 Monochrom video I just did, I guess now is the time to just keep that going, keep the momentum going, and kind of just do another quick video about the 246, the Monochrom. My favorite way to shoot, like I mentioned in the last video, is with a rangefinder, and the M246 Monochrom happens to be probably my favorite camera of all time. It really does feel like a never-ending roll of black and white film. It is like a never-ending roll of T-Max, and not even T-Max in 35mm. It feels like a never-ending roll of T-Max in 120. Since there's no color filter array, the actual resolution on a 24 megapixel monochrome sensor looks to the eye and in prints like, in my opinion, it's pretty close to 645, comparable to 645 black and white film photographs. It's hard to tell because there's like no grain, no digital noise, and the transition from subject to background or to in focus, out of focus. It looks like brush strokes or pastels, like the edges are soft yet noticeable. So things like micro contrast are really effectively next level, so to speak. So I was on my way to pick up a light meter, and I decided to take the M246 with me, because I decided I'm just gonna grab it and I'm gonna go. And I guess in this video I'll kind of just go over the photos. I didn't do so much of that last time. Making my way over, I think I actually got off at Wall Street, so I didn't come up into the Oculus. Now the Oculus has been photographed a lot. It's a good place to go and practice photography. It is a structure that really makes your subject and your background separate. It's good for photography. My opinion on the architectural nature of it's really weird, and it really is essentially just a big shopping mall with just chain stores and overpriced stuff that I personally have no need of. The personal feelings on the actual station and the area aside, it is fun and interesting for photography, and it's always packed with tourists, which is fine. So on my way there, just kind of noticed, I'm like, okay, there was a line of food trucks almost a block long, and it was backlit, and I decided, yeah, I'm just gonna shoot around here for just a few minutes, just kind of on my way, because like I had to be at World Trade at a specific time. So I thought this was pretty good. I went ahead and decided with the M246, you can clip the highlights really easily, so I underexposed it by a pretty good amount, and it worked out. I didn't clip the highlights too hard, kind of barely at all, so not the worst picture in the world. I took maybe 30 or 40 shots, but I think I'm only going to show a handful of the good ones just to kind of keep this somewhat short. As I was walking around, I got close to Zucotti Park of Occupy fame. I noticed that I was getting some really interesting shadows and light filtering through the buildings. So it was a lot of side lighting that you get in the fall and winter, which is wonderful for black and white. It is the ideal light for black and white, either early morning or late night or late afternoon, early evening light, where it's really almost sideways. But in the fall and winter, the sun's lower, so you kind of get that kind of light all day long, and I love it. Yeah, this guy kind of walking, and one thing I noticed about this photograph when I was editing it, and all these photographs are edited, but not crazy edited. I like that I can almost step into this composition, not just because of the light and shadow and the amount of contrast, but the Zeiss 35mm lens really has that 3D pop, and I don't really know how else to quantify it, but you can kind of almost, like I said, step into it. So I do like this. I like the subject is not really bothered by me being there either. I don't like to be intrusive. So all in all, pretty basic street photography, and it works okay, I think. So Zucotti Park has often sees a lot of homeless people hanging out there, unhoused rather, hanging out there, and there's often police and there's food trucks and there's foot traffic and tourists, and it is often taped off by cops or construction or whatever. I just found that the caution tape, as a leading line to the food trucks in the background, and the trees were also kind of making the zigzag pattern, which I thought worked pretty well, just compositionally. So took it. Don't really have an outstanding subject in it, which is fine. You don't really need that in every photograph. And as I got closer to the mall that is near World Trade, I think it's right next to the Oculus, I saw these revolving doors, and then I saw that giant light that kind of covers the escalator, and I saw a few people walk through. There was not a lot of foot traffic that day, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and frame someone against that light, expose for the highlights, because you have to with the M246, and kind of isolate a subject and get some of these vertical lines, highlights and shadows, and come up with something contrasty and stark. And I think I get there. Well, here, okay. So the thing that I genuinely do like about the Oculus is this thing, when you're inside of it, is basically a spaceship. I know it looks kind of like an eye, like with eyelashes, or some people say it looks like a whale carcass, and I honestly kind of does. It's a very strange piece of architecture. I don't think it's anything amazing. I think it's interesting for the sake of interest, but again, my opinion as an architectural critic aside, it is a great place to shoot, especially black and white, because you're always going to get that light, kind of airy, ethereal background with geometry, but a fair lack of texture. So I went ahead and exposed again for the highlights, and in post I decided not to bring the shadows up too much, or rather the blacks up too much, and I liked that I was getting so much isolation of just the people moving. So my subject became people and movement itself, and I was able to kind of isolate them against the background with not too much mid-ground tones, really. So high contrast, I was trying to go for, delta film, pushed maybe 2 stops. So, not Tri-X, not HP5. It's a lot smoother than that. And I like what I was able to get. Again, these leading lines to the subject coming up the stairs, there's so much angles, so much geometry, but it's also very kind of curvaceous, and it's a sterile yet somewhat romantic setting. Maybe I'm just spitting words here. I guess the last one I'll cover is pretty much the same photo from before, just right dead center, putting the spine or the ridge of the Oculus right in the middle of the frame. Very basic, straightforward photo, but what I like here is how much I get that blend of the cast shadows of the people walking, and then just the 2 people still right towards the middle, but also offset. So you get a clear subject, but then the subjects are also pretty much everyone there, and I like that you can't see any of their faces. So, I'm not very intrusive, not voyeuristic. I don't like that approach. I just kind of like composition and geometry and settings. And I think that's really where I'm getting with this specific set, or this specific outing, or this session, whatever you want to call it. And, most importantly, I had a good time, and I think I got a few pretty decent shots. And, at some point I'm going to print these out, and then I'll probably do a review of what it's like to look at these printed monochrome files. I've added texture, I've added clarity, and I've added a little bit of dehaze and a bunch of contrast. But aside from that, I'm not doing much else here. I might have masked 1 or 2 of them coming down from the top, I don't really remember, but I like to spend most of my time with this and less time on this computer. So the edits are fairly minimal, and with no color to deal with, it's all just texture, contrast, and composition, and light. And I've got a few more videos of the monochrome, and then I also shot film again at the Oculus, and years ago I shot the M240 there as well when I had it. So I might use some B-roll and bring out some old photos that I made there and do a couple more videos. So, stick around, and hopefully I manage to get better.